Nigerian police forcibly dispersed hundreds of protesters in Lagos who tried to mark the one-year anniversary of a shooting at a protest in October 2020. Police fired tear gas and detained at least 5 people. At one point, a man was pepper sprayed as he was being detained.
The largely peaceful protesters waved Nigerian flags and held placards reading, "Say no to oppression." Police forcibly bundled at least one man into a security vehicle following his attempts to resist arrest, and another man inside had visible wounds to his head. Dozens were also marching in Abuja, the capital, amid a heavy police presence. 1 year ago, thousands demonstrated against police brutality, which they said was endemic. But the protests, which had taken place in cities across the nation of some 200 million, ended at a toll gate in a hail of gunfire.
Not within the 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. within the ambit of the law.
Commissioner.
So I'm not giving anybody any time.
Commissioner.
They're within the ambit of the law. If they choose to protest between 8 and 10, that's their own decision. I don't dictate that, but must be within the ambit of the law.
Demonstrators said soldiers and police opened fire on October 20th, though both denied using live rounds. Rights group Amnesty International said 12 protesters were killed in 2 districts that night, triggering the worst street unrest since Nigeria returned to civilian rule in 1999.
The essence is to remember fallen heroes. The essence is also basically to celebrate one of Africa's greatest movement of all times. And that is the main reason why we're here. And we hope that this will serve as a lesson and as a reminder to generations coming after us that indeed, with resilience, with commitment, that we can surmount our fears and we can confront every issue that is bedeviling our nation.
The government has never acknowledged the extent of the violence, but it has promised to transform policing, including meeting the demonstrators' demand to shut down the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, a unit activist blamed for a campaign of extortion, violence, kidnapping and intimidation. Activists say those government promises have proven hollow.
For a little bit more on this, we're now joined by Femi Falana, who's a Nigerian lawyer and human rights activist. A very good evening. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you. Good evening.
So what happened today in Lagos, I guess perhaps predictable in that we have a group of youths, younger people in particular, who wanted to remember what happened this time a year ago, on the one hand, and then on the other, authorities that do not want to see a repeat or demonstrations at all.
Well, it's unfortunate that the police predictably behaved to type today, being a neo-colonial police force, a creation of the colonial regime, and that is why it continues to bear the title Nigeria Police Force. It's not a service or a department or a police division. It is a Nigerian police force. And it brought out full force today to repress unarmed protesters in Lagos in particular, because there were protests in Abuja, in Yola, and some other parts of the country, in remembrance of the brutal killing of a number of people last year. In Lagos alone, not less than 200 people were killed last year, while in other parts, people were also killed. In less than 1 week, 99 people were killed in Lagos, and this is the official figure from the chief pathologist of Lagos State. In Edo State, in Rivers State, in Abia State, and many other places, people were killed. But the young people defied the legal orders of the police and came out in their large numbers today. I'm surprised that the Commissioner of Police was talking of acting under the law. It is particularly painful for me because I fought in court and I won the case against obtaining police permit for rallies. As the law stands today, the duty imposed on the police is to maintain security during peaceful protests in Nigeria. So what happened today is illegal. What happened today cannot be justified under the law, and it's certainly going to be challenged. I just got information this evening that about 26 young men who were arrested today, I bet illegally, were going to be charged. So we have made arrangements for lawyers to appear for them and take them out on bail. After that, we are proceeding to court to challenge this regular harassment of unarmed protesters in Nigeria.
The hashtag #EndSARS protests a year ago were about this kind of harassment and brutality. Are you suggesting that nothing has changed over time, that even though SARS, we're told, has been disbanded, the police still behave in the same way?
No, the police still behave in the same, because the intimidation by the police is systemic. As I did say, the ruling class in Nigeria, the local ruling class, inherited a police force from the colonial regime. Nothing has changed. Even though SARS had been abolished, but it's been replaced by SWAT. And there is no difference. In fact, the difference is like one between 6.5 dozen. Nothing has changed. Intimidation of innocent people continues. Illegal killings, extrajudicial killings of people by the police continues unabated. And of course, incessant arrests and detention and infliction of torture on suspects, have not been addressed. And that is why the young people came out again today to remind the nation that nothing has changed, and to mark and to pay tribute to those who were killed last year, which is legitimate. It's part of the African culture to celebrate the dead, to honor the dead. And that was why the young people, supported by the generality of Nigerians, had their protests today.
So am I correct in saying that the government today almost, in fact, emphatically denied that people were killed at the protests this time last year, and that their investigations say that this didn't happen, and anybody who says otherwise is lying, and that people like CNN and human rights groups have to apologize for spreading propaganda, they say?
No, I think what happened was that there was a lot of propaganda on the part of the government and harassment, CNN and others, whereby they thought that nobody was killed, because that was the claim of the government. But I'm saying in Lagos, for instance, the chief pathologist of the state, a respected medical practitioner, Dr. John Obafunwa, had given evidence before the Lagos State Judicial Commission of Inquiry, to the effect that between 19th and 24th of October last year, 99 dead bodies were dumped in the various mortuaries in Lagos, including some from Lekki, and nobody has denied that. So people were killed, and it has come out, it's been confirmed by the government. For there was an incident, there was an occasion when the government appealed to members of the public, when the government invited members of the public to claim the dead bodies in the mortuaries. Otherwise, the government was going to have a mass burial for the dead bodies. So it's now, nobody is denying the fact that people were killed any longer.
So how come nobody has been brought to account, and yet there's been a number of inquiries over the year?
Well, the inquiries are just being, the commissions of inquiry are just completing their assignment. And last week, a forum of governors, the governors met in Abuja and did assure Nigerians that based on the recommendations of the Judicial Commissions of Inquiry, prosecution will soon begin. Prosecution of those who had killed unarmed people, policemen who had killed or police personnel, found liable for killing people illegally, others who inflicted torture on people without any basis will also be brought to book. But I can also say that recommendations have been made for payment of compensation to victims of police brutality. In the case of Lagos, over 100 million naira have been paid to victims because the panel in Lagos was allowed to make recommendations and pay directly. But in other states, the report have been submitted to the various state governments to consider the reports, including reports for compensation and prosecution of those who bear responsibility for killing Nigerians illegally. So, to that extent, the NSAS movement can be said to have recorded some progress, even though we're saying that is not enough.
Has the president ever apologized on behalf of his security officials that were involved in these killings? Because we know for a long time they denied ever killing anybody. But as you say, these reports are quite clear that firearms were used, and surely it could only have been them.
Well, that has not been done except in the wake of the crisis when both the president and the vice president did say publicly